They called him the laziest man in the entire village. While others sweated under the blazing sun, he snored in his hut without shame. But one strange afternoon, a discovery in the bush changed Mr. Ujoku's life forever, a small clay pot that could multiply anything he put inside. What started as a miracle would soon become his greatest curse. Welcome back to African Folktales by Irene, where ordinary lives turn into extraordinary lessons. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because today's story will leave you thinking about greed, fate, and second chances. In the quiet heart of a dusty Nigerian village lived Mr. Ujoku, a man famous for one thing, laziness. When the morning rooster crowed, farmers lifted their hoes, women filled their buckets, and children hurried to the stream. But Mr. Ujoku. He rolled over, yawned, and muttered, "Abeg, I go do tomorrow." While his mates worked hard, his compound was a ghost yard, quiet, empty, and full of unwashed plates. Villagers passing by would shake their heads. "That man will die poor," they'd whisper. But Mr. Ujoku didn't care. To him, life was meant for rest, not struggle. One scorching afternoon, hunger hit him hard. His gari jar was empty, and no one in the village wanted to feed him anymore. Weak and desperate, he dragged himself toward the bush, hoping to find wild fruits or tubers. The deeper he went, the stranger the forest felt, the air heavy, the silence loud. Then his eyes caught something unusual, a black clay pot, half buried in dry leaves, glowing faintly under the sunlight. Mr. Ujoku frowned. "Which kind thing be this?" he muttered, brushing off the dirt. The moment he touched it, a warm energy shot through his arm. Curious, he dropped the only coin he had into the pot. Suddenly, it trembled, and multiplied the coin until the pot overflowed with money. Mr. Ujoku froze. His heart raced. "Oh! Chinik! No real miracle be this, oh!" he screamed, laughing as tears filled his eyes. That day, Mr. Ujoku walked home with joy bursting in his chest. For the first time in years, luck had smiled on him. But as the days passed and his greed grew, he failed to notice something. The pot's power came with a silent warning. Mr. Ujoku's days of hunger were over, or so he thought. In the next episode, find out how his sudden wealth turned the whole village upside down, and how a woman's curiosity would open the door to his downfall. This story is only just beginning. When word spreads that a lazy man suddenly turns rich, people talk. Some praise him, others whisper in fear. But behind Mr. Ujoku's door, a secret pot was working harder than any farmer in the village. Days turned into weeks, and the once broke Mr. Ujoku began to change. His tattered clothes were replaced with fine wrappers. His hut that used to smell of dust now glowed with new mats, golden plates, and jollof rice smell every evening. The villagers couldn't believe it. "Is that not Mr. Ujoku?" they would ask, peeking through his window as he counted bundles of cash and chewed goat meat. "How can a man who sleeps all day suddenly live like a chief?" He smiled at their gossip but said nothing. Each morning, when no one was watching, he locked his room, lifted the mat under his bed, and revealed the hole where his magic pot sat shining like treasure. He would drop anything inside, yams, clothes, coins, and in seconds, the pot filled with more. But even with his new wealth, Mr. Ujoku didn't change his lazy ways. He still slept till noon, still stretched before eating, still bragged to himself, "See life. People they suffer for farm, but I just rest, and money they find me." Ladies in the village began to eye the once lazy man. He never mind, he would call for them, ask them to dance for him while he sprays money on them. Yet something else had begun to grow, the jealousy of his neighbor, Madame Ebubu, a sharp-tongued woman who never missed anything happening around her. Every day, she leaned against her wall, pretending to sweep while watching Mr. Ujoku's compound. Her eyes narrowed with suspicion. She murmured one evening, "Lazy man wey no fit farm now they wear lace every Sunday. Something no pure here." What Madame Ebubu didn't know was that her curiosity would soon open a door she would wish had stayed shut. They say curiosity killed the cat, but in Madame Ebubu's case, it might destroy much more. What happens when greed meets greed? Find out in episode 3, where secret gets too close to being discovered. They say walls have ears, but in Mr. Ujoku's case, the ears belong to Madame Ebubu. The woman could smell secrets like pepper soup, and this time, her nose had caught something rich. Each morning, Madame Ebubu pretended to greet cheerfully, waving her broom at the front of her compound. But behind her friendly smile hid sharp eyes watching every move Mr. Ujoku made. She noticed his habits, how he always disappeared into his room after sunrise, how the sound of a clay pot sometimes echoed faintly, how he never went to market yet always had fresh food. "Aha," she whispered, "there's something inside that house." One day, fate helped her plan. Mr. Ujoku left in a hurry to attend a village meeting, leaving his back window half open. Madame Ebubu's heart raced. She tiptoed into his compound, her wrapper tightly tied, her eyes darting left and right. Inside, the room smelled of perfume and roasted meat. She searched quietly, under mats, behind the curtain, near the cooking pots, but found nothing. Just when she was about to leave, her eyes caught something strange, a corner of the bed slightly lifted, and beneath it, a faint golden glow. Her heart pounded like talking drums. She knelt down and saw the black clay pot, dull yet mystery. Her heart pounded like talking drums. She knelt down and saw the black clay pot, dull yet mysterious. "Nor this be him's secret," she muttered, frowning. "All this while for ordinary pot." She picked it up, shook her head, and laughed to herself. Lazy man and dirty habits. But as she mocked him, her gold earring slipped from her ear and fell into the pot. Before she could reach it, the pot trembled softly, and then, in a blink, it filled up with shining golden earrings. Madame Ebubu gasped, eyes wide, mouth open. "Yezu! So this no magic pot." She quickly stuffed her pockets with jewelry, her mind racing. The secret was no longer safe. Madame Ebubu had tasted the sweetness of magic, but she had no idea the danger waiting behind it. In episode 4, greed begins to grow, and the pot curse starts to wake. Some secrets are too sweet to keep. Madame Ebubu had touched wealth with her own hands, and once greed enters the heart, it whispers louder than conscience. That night, Madame Ebubu couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned, her mind replaying the sound of gold clinking inside the magic pot. "Only one earring gave me hundreds," she murmured. "What if I try something bigger?" At sunrise, she spied from her window. Mr. Ujoku was locking his door, humming happily, and heading to the market. The moment he disappeared down the dusty road, Madame Ebubu tied her scarf tight and tiptoed into his compound like a thief. Her hands trembled as she entered the room. The air was thick with the smell of money and perfume. She lifted the bed, uncovered the pot, and stared at it like it was a newborn baby. "No, you and me today," she whispered. The first thing she dropped inside was her old necklace, boom. The pot filled with dozens of shining necklaces. She laughed so hard tears rolled down her cheeks. Next, she put her new lace wrapper. Instantly, the pot overflowed with fine fabrics, brighter than any she'd ever owned. From that day, Madame Ebubu became bold. She sneaked into Mr. Ujoku's room anytime he went out. Sometimes she dropped her shoes, sometimes meat, sometimes foodstuff, and each time, the pot never failed. But as she left one afternoon, her eyes met Mr. Ujoku returning early from the market. She froze, pretending to greet cheerfully. "Oh, my neighbor. You don't buy plenty things, oh," she said, smiling nervously. Mr. Ujoku eyed her, suspicious. "Madame Ebubu, you like my compound too much these days," he said, scratching his head. She laughed it off, but her voice shook. What neither of them knew was that their little game of greed had just begun, and the pot was already watching. Greed never ends quietly. Madame Ebubu's hunger for more will push her to break the one rule the pot can never forgive, and when that happens, all hell will break loose. They say greed has no brakes, and Madame Ebubu was speeding toward disaster. The more the pot gave her, the more she wanted. But some gifts were never meant to be taken. By now, Madame Ebubu had become addicted to the magic pot. Her compound sparkled with lace wrappers, jewelry, perfumes, and fine plates she never bought. Each time she looked at her reflection in the mirror, she whispered proudly, "Who say Ebubu no fit be rich woman too?" But her greed grew like wildfire. One Friday afternoon, she saw Mr. Ujoku leaving again. "Not today, I go try something new," she said, her eyes glittering with mischief. She had just bought a fat live chicken for Christmas. If Irene fit multiply, why chicken no go multiply too, she chuckled. She snuck into his hut, lifted the bed, and pulled out the pot, her heart beat loud as drums. "My dear magic pot, today we go make miracle together," she said, lowering the squawking chicken inside. The moment the chicken touched the pot, a strange wind blew through the room. The walls creaked, the pot glowed red, and Madame Ebubu stumbled back. Suddenly, the pot began to shake violently, and out came 10, then 20, then 50 chickens, all alive, all screaming. They filled the room, flapping, jumping, pecking everything in sight. The air smelled of feathers and fear. "Oh, Jesus! What is happening?" Madame Ebubu shouted, trying to push them back. But the chickens' eyes turned red, glowing, wild, angry. One leapt at her face, another scratched her arm. She screamed as they surrounded her, biting, clawing, tearing at her wrapper. Her laughter turned into terror. "Somebody help me," she cried, running out of the room covered in feathers and scratches. Across the road, villagers dropped their tools, staring as she bolted out shouting, "Chickens! Evil chickens! They won't kill me, oh!" The forbidden had been done. The pot that gave now wanted to take back. In episode 6, the whole village will witness the madness, and Mr. Ujoku will finally face the secret he buried under his bed. The village had never seen madness like this. Chickens with fire in their eyes, a woman screaming through the streets, and a secret too dark to stay hidden. That night, peace packed its bag and left. The sun was setting when the screams began. Villagers turned their heads. Madame Ebubu was running barefoot across the road, feathers flying around her like a storm. Her wrapper was torn, her hair scattered, and blood dripped from her arm. "Help me! Chickens, they pursue me, oh!" she shouted. At first, everyone laughed. "No hunger, they worry her," some joked. But then they saw it, a flock of angry chickens charging behind her, wings wide, eyes glowing red like burning coal. The laughter died instantly. "Yezu! No wetin be this," a man shouted, grabbing his child. Pots fell, goats scattered, and the street turned wild as people ran in every direction. The chickens pecked doors, clawed at baskets, and tore through clothes hanging on lines. Meanwhile, Mr. Ujoku, who had just returned from the market, froze when he saw the chaos. His heart sank. No be wetin I dey think," he muttered, rushing into his compound. He pushed open his bedroom door, feathers everywhere, the bed flipped, and the magic pot smoking with red dust. He fell to his knees. "Chinik! Madame Ebubu, don't spoil everything," he cried, his voice shaking. The pot, once silent, began to hum, deep, angry, alive. "You broke the rule," it seemed to whisper, "and now you must pay." Outside, Madame Ebubu collapsed on the ground as villagers surrounded her. Tears streamed down her face as she pointed weakly toward Mr. Ujoku's hut. "No, from there start, the pot under him bed," she screamed. Gasps filled the air. The crowd turned toward Mr. Ujoku's compound. The secret was out. The village had found the truth, but too late. The pot's anger was rising, and no one could stop it. The pot's curse spreads beyond Mr. Ujoku's house, and something terrifying crawls out of the dark. The secret was out. The villagers had seen the evil with their own eyes, but the worst was yet to come. The pot that once gave wealth had now become a living curse. Darkness fell over the village like a heavy shadow. The air was cold and tense. No one slept at night, not after what they had witnessed. The strange chickens roamed the streets, their glowing eyes cutting through the night like fireflies from hell. Mr. Ujoku sat trembling on his doorstep, his hands buried in his hair. He could still hear the pot humming faintly inside his room, as if something alive was breathing beneath the floor. "What have I done?" he whispered. Madame Ebubu sat a few meters away, her face pale and swollen from the scratches. Villagers surrounded her, demanding answers. "Tell us the truth," one shouted. "What pot? What curse?" another cried. Through tears, she confessed everything, how she had seen the pot, how she secretly used it, and how she placed a live chicken inside. Every word made the crowd murmur louder in disbelief. "You brought this evil to us," an elder yelled. But then, a strange noise interrupted them, a deep rumble from Mr. Ujoku's house. The ground shook slightly. The chickens froze, turned toward the hut, and began to move in one direction, their wings flapping slowly. Everyone backed away. The pot inside glowed again, this time brighter, pulsing like a heartbeat. A crack appeared on its side, and smoke rose through the floorboards. The smell was strong, bitter, and ancient. Mr. Ujoku stood, tears in his eyes. "It's my fault," he said. "I should never have touched it." But before he could take another step, a loud bang echoed, the pot had cracked open completely. The curse was free, no longer bound by clay or rules. The pot's true power will be revealed, and the price of greed will finally begin to unfold. That night, the village held its breath. From deep inside Mr. Ujoku's hut came a sound, not human, not animal, something ancient, angry, and awake. The pot had broken, and now, it wanted everything back. The sky turned dark without warning. Then it roared, a sound that split the air and made every villager drop flat to the ground. Trees bent. Chickens scattered. Lamps shattered. Even the wind seemed to flee. Mr. Ujoku fell face first, weeping. "Take it all back. Please. I give everything. Just let us leave." But the shadow only laughed, a deep, hollow sound that shook the stars. Then came one final flash, blinding, white, and hot. When it faded, the pot was gone. Completely. The compound fell silent. Only the echo of that laughter remained, whispering in the night. The curse had been unleashed, and nothing could erase it. The morning will come, but not peace. The village must now decide who deserves mercy, and who deserves punishment. The night ended, but peace did not return. Smoke still hung in the air, feathers covered the ground, and the villagers gathered, not to celebrate survival, but to judge two people who had awakened the curse. Morning came heavy and grey. The air smelled of ashes and fear. Mr. Ujoku sat outside his shattered hut, his once proud face hollow with regret. The pot was gone, but the memory of its power still burned in his eyes. Across the street, Madame Ebubu sat quietly on the ground, wrapped in an old cloth. Her arms were bandaged, her face streaked with dried tears. Around her, villagers whispered in anger and disbelief. "All this destruction, just because of greed," one woman said. The village elder, Chief Okri, arrived with his walking stick. His voice was slow, deep, and full of sorrow. "Mr. Ujoku, Madame Ebubu," he said, "you have brought shame upon us. The spirits of this land are angry. What do you have to say for yourselves?" Mr. Ujoku bowed his head. "I was lazy," he said softly. "I wanted riches without sweat. I found the pot, but I never stopped to ask why it chose me. I thought I could cheat life. Madame Ebubu broke down in tears. I was jealous, she confessed. I couldn't stand seeing him rise while I stayed poor. My greed made me blind. The elder nodded slowly. Now you see, he said, what greed and envy can do. The spirits take no joy in punishment, but they demand repentance. He ordered both of them to rebuild the broken hearts, return the stolen goods to the people, and live humbly for the rest of their days. The villagers murmured in agreement, their anger slowly turning to pity. As the crowd dispersed, Mr. Ujoku looked at the empty spot under his bed, the place where the pot once sat. For the first time, he whispered with trembling lips, I wish I had walked. The curse was gone, but the lesson remained carved deep in every heart. We'll see what became of Mr. Ujoku and Madame Ebubu, and the powerful moral this story left behind for generations. The pot was gone, the storm had passed, but some lessons burn longer than fire. In the quiet after chaos, Mr. Ujoku and Madame Ebubu began a new chapter, one written not by greed, but by grace. Weeks turned into months. The village slowly healed from the fear and the truth. The village slowly healed from the fear and destruction. The chickens had vanished, the strange glow never returned, and peace, at last, came creeping back. Mr. Ujoku changed. He woke before sunrise now, working on the same farm he once mocked. The villagers, though cautious at first, began to see his transformation. His hands, once soft from laziness, grew rough and strong. Each day, he whispered to himself, a man who does not sweat will never understand the sweetness of rest. Madame Ebubu too found a new path. Her laughter returned, softer this time, no longer filled with pride, but humility. She started helping widows at the market, teaching young girls never to envy another person's life. Envy looks sweet, she would tell them, until it poisons your soul. One evening, Chief Okari visited them both. You have learned, he said gently. Sometimes the spirits give us power, not as a blessing, but as a test. You both failed, but you also found wisdom. As the sun set, Mr. Ujoku looked out at the horizon, where the fields glowed gold under the evening light. He smiled faintly. If only I had known, he whispered. All I needed was the strength to start. Some villagers say that on quiet nights, when the wind passes through the farmlands, they can still hear a soft hum, the echo of the pot that taught them the true cost of greed. But no one ever dared to seek it again. And that's how the tale of Mr. Ujoku and the magic pot ended, not with riches, but with wisdom. Remember, true wealth doesn't come from what you find, it comes from what you earn. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to African Folktales by Irene, where every story holds a heartbeat and every heartbeat holds a lesson.